Matthew 22, verses 1 through 33 is where we'll begin today. Jesus went on speaking in parables. The kingdom of heaven is like a king whose son was getting married. The king organized a great feast, a huge wedding banquet. He invited everyone he knew. The day of the wedding arrived, and the king sent his servants into town to track down his guests. But when the servants approached them with the king's message, they refused to come. So the king sent out another batch of servants. The king said, "Tell those people I've invited to come to the wedding banquet. Tell them I have prepared a great feast. Everything is ready. The oxen and fattened calf have all been butchered. The wine is decanted, and the table is laid out just so." And off the servants went, and they carried the king's messages to the errant guests, who still paid not a whit of attention. One guest headed into his field to work. Another sat at his desk to attend to his accounts. The rest of the guests actually turned on the servants, brutalizing them and killing them. When he learned of this, the king was furious. He sent his army to kill the murderers and burn their towns. But there was, of course, still a wedding to celebrate. The king said to his remaining servants, "The wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited didn't rise to the occasion. So go into the streets and invite anyone you see. Invite everyone you meet." And the servants did just that. They went into the streets and invited everyone they met, rich and poor, good and bad, high and low, sick and well. Everyone who was invited came, and the wedding hall practically burst with guests. The king looked around the party with glee, but he spotted one man who was not dressed appropriately. In fact, he was dressed rather plainly, in clothes not all fitting for a fine nuptial feast. The king said, "Kind sir, how did you get in here without a proper suit of wedding clothes?" The man was speechless. "I had been invited in off the street, after all." Getting no response, the king told his servants, "Tie him up and throw him out into the darkness, where there is weeping and grinding of teeth. For many are invited, but few are chosen." At that, the Pharisees left. They determined to trap this Jesus with his own words. Hang him by his own rope, you might say. They sent a batch of students to him, along with a group that was loyal to Herod. "Teacher, you know you are a man of integrity, and you tell the truth about the way of God. We know you don't cotton to public opinion, and that is why we trust you and want you to settle something for us. Should we, God's chosen people, pay taxes to Caesar or not?" Jesus knew these men were out to trap him. He said, "You hypocrites, why do you show up here with such a transparent trick? Bring me a coin you would use to pay tax." Someone handed him a denarius. Jesus fingered the coin. "Of whom is this a portrait, and who owns this inscription?" They said, "Caesar." And Jesus said, "Well then, render to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." And those who had coming hope to trick Jesus were confounded and amazed, and they left him and went away. That same day, a band of Sadducees, a section of Jewish aristocrats, who, among other things, did not expect a resurrection or anticipate any sort of future life at all, but put their question to Jesus. "Teacher, the law of Moses teaches that if a married man dies with no children, then his brother must marry the widow and father children in his brother's name. Now we knew a family of 7 brothers. The eldest brother married and died, and since he had no children, the next brother married his widow, and shortly thereafter the second brother died, and the next, until there were 7 marriages with the same woman. Eventually the wife died. So now, teacher, whose wife will she be at the resurrection? Will she have 7 husbands since they were each married to her? Jesus said, you know neither God's scriptures nor God's power, and so your assumptions are all wrong. At the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the messengers of heaven. A key to this resurrected life can be found in the words of Moses, which you do claim to read. I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Our God is not the God of the dead, he is the God of the living. And again the crowd was amazed. They were astonished at his teaching. And now we'll read Psalm 27, verses 1 through 7. A Song of David. The Eternal is my light amidst my darkness, and my rescue in times of trouble. So whom shall I fear? He surrounds me with a fortress of protection, so nothing should cause me alarm. When my enemies advanced to devour me alive, they tripped and fell flat on their faces into the soil. When the armies of the enemy surround me, I will not be afraid. When death calls for me in the midst of war, my soul is confident and unmoved. I am pleading with the Eternal for this one thing, my soul's desire, to live with him all of my days, in the shadow of his temple, to behold his beauty and ponder his ways, in the company of his people. His house is my shelter and secret retreat. It is there I find peace in the midst of the storm and turmoil. Safety sits with me in the hiding place of God. He will set me on a rock high above the fray. God lifts me high above those whose thoughts of death and deceit that call for my life. I will enter his presence offering sacrifices and praise. In his house I am overcome with joy. As I sing yes and play music for the Eternal alone, I cannot shout any louder. Eternal One, hear my cry and respond with your grace. And that was our psalm. Now we'll read our Proverbs, which is Proverbs chapter 6, verses 20 through 26. So my son, follow your father's direction, and don't forget what your mother taught you. Keep your teachings close to your heart. Engrave them on a pendant and hang it around your neck. Their instruction will guide you along your journey, guard you when you sleep, and address you when you wake in the morning. For their direction is a lamp, their instruction will light your path, and their discipline will correct your missteps, sending you down the right path of life. They will keep you far from the corrupted woman, away from the smooth talk of a seductive woman. Do not lose yourself in desire of her beauty, or let her win you over with her painted eyes. For you can buy a harlot with a loaf of bread, but sex with another man's wife will cost you your life. And that was our Proverbs. Okay, guys, that was today's Bible reading. I hope it touched your guys' hearts. I hope you're having a blessed day. Let's bring those souls to Jesus, and God willing, I'll see you again tomorrow with another Bible reading. Bye, guys. God bless.